Here's a sneak peek at what's happening on ABC General Hospital over the next couple of weeks. From February 9th to February 20th, Willow walked into the dark room, her steps all quiet and even, just like she'd been doing for ages. It was the kind of walk that made everyone think she was just wiped out from taking care of everything. Her hands shook a tiny bit, making her seem really caring, delicate, and even motherly as she fixed Drew's blanket and smoothed his forehead. Anyone looking at her could see she was a woman, really weighted down by both love and all her responsibilities. But really underneath it all, her heart was racing, a wild beat that mirrored the scary secret growing within her. Each evening when the house went quiet and Drew's breathing settled into that deep, helpless sound, Willow pulled out the little vial from her coat pocket, filled the syringe, and then saw the plunger slowly go down with a cold, steady motion. That drug was really strong. It was made to keep him out cold. Trapped in a fog so he couldn't ask anything or find out the truth, she was so intent on hiding. She quietly reassured him while she gave him the shot. Like her words could magically erase the guilt that was eating at her inside. She kept telling herself it had to be this way. No one would get it, she thought, and if Drew woke up now, everything she'd worked for would be ruined. She thought she was keeping her life, her secrets, and her shaky control safe. But her actions were getting out of sync, less planned, and more frantic. She kept giving him injections, but with each one, her thoughts got messier, and she felt further away from the person she used to be. Every dose felt like sliding further into madness, breaking another link, and losing a bit more of my mind. When the sun came up, Willow hardly knew the scared face looking back at her. Someone else started to see the little issues she thought nobody would ever find out about. Kai was used to Willow's rigid schedule, her checkups always happening at the same time, and her syrupy explanations regarding Drew's condition. But something just fell off. One afternoon, Kai paused outside Drew's room. He heard a faint sound, or maybe it was just a feeling he couldn't quite put his finger on. The door was open, just a crack, and he could see Willow bent over the bed. She looked really tense, and her hands were doing something that just didn't go with the gentle vibe she was trying so hard to give off. He couldn't catch every detail, but what he did see was enough. Willow was holding a cup up to Drew's mouth and her hand was trembling. It wasn't out of kindness, though it was from pure fear. She kept looking around like she was doing something she shouldn't have been and was scared of getting caught. Kai felt a new kind of curiosity, something that started to feel more like a growing suspicion, a really tight knot in his chest. Willow wasn't acting like the person she tried to make everyone believe she was any longer. He took a step back from the doorway and a weird feeling washed over him, making him want to figure out what she was really giving Drew. He kept playing that moment over and over, trying to figure out what went wrong. Every little thing, every odd change in how she'd been acting lately, he scrutinized it all. You could hear it, that little shake in her voice. They really didn't want his help. She seemed to hover over Drew more like she was guarding a secret than just watching a patient. Kai felt like he was walking into something bad, but he just couldn't shake the creepy feeling that something awful was going down behind those closed doors. He felt a growing drive his worry turning into a firm resolve. If the medicine was real, Willow wouldn't have kept it a secret. But if she wasn't doing right by Drew, if she was hurting him while pretending to help, then he had to dig into what was really happening. Even if it meant blowing up their home life, he had a responsibility to find out the truth. As he watched, Willow just got crazier doing things that were more messed up and risky. She checked the locks again, snapped when asked simple things, and jumped every time Kai came into a room without warning. Her paranoia became so strong that Kai started to worry not only about Drew, but also about what Willow was turning into. Something in her head was coming apart, rearranging itself into a Willow who could make choices nobody would see coming. Someone who always said every bad thing they did was a necessary sacrifice. Kai was stuck. He could keep quiet, and Drew might die. Or he could tell everyone about Willow, and that would start a whole mess he might not know how to stop. If he talked to her about it, she could just lose it. If he told on her, there was a real chance she'd just lose it completely, doing something really bad because she felt so desperate. The truth could save Drew, sure, but it could also ruin everything close to them. Willow was really lost in her own twisted thoughts, completely missing how Kai's eyes were getting harder and more determined. She just couldn't see it. All those frantic lies, the shaky gestures, the injections in the dead of night, every single one was just pushing him, driving him right to the edge, to a point where he'd have no choice but to do something. But when that time came, it would ruin everything she'd worked so hard to keep in check, making her tidy world into the exact nightmare she'd always dreaded. Charlotte was in Port Charles, feeling really stormy inside, even though she seemed calm. She was scared and confused, and she had a terrible feeling that Nina, someone she was starting to trust, might have done something awful. She couldn't shake the thought. It just wouldn't leave her alone, spinning around and around in her head until she felt like she couldn't even breathe. Now she found herself doubting everything Nina had ever told her, every look that lingered a bit too long, every quiet moment that suddenly seemed really shady. Charlotte couldn't hold it in anymore. She had to get to Valentin to warn him before whatever she believed to be the truth got out of their grasp. She came in all out of breath, really shaken up, going on and on about how Nina was a traitor. She said Nina was spilling secrets to some bad guy and that something awful was already happening. But Valentine, always a planner, a dad who just wouldn't freak out, listened so calmly it made Charlotte even more worried. He told her to stop, take a breath, and think that maybe her feelings were messing with how she saw something she didn't quite grasp. He kindly brought up the idea that she should chat with Nina herself, instead of guessing what was going on based on flimsy evidence. Valentine knew something Charlotte didn't. Nina wasn't the one who betrayed her. Nina really went out of her way to look out for Charlotte. Just think about their last chat. Nina actually stopped Charlotte from saying things that could have put both of them in a tough spot. Nina wasn't avoiding the truth. She was shielding Charlotte from it. That quiet protection, that smart way of holding back Valentine, knew it right away. He even figured Nina probably kept some details from Charlotte on purpose, just so Brennan wouldn't have anything at all to go on. They weren't trying to trick anyone, they just needed to get by. But Charlotte couldn't see that. She just saw a woman who started keeping secrets, someone she used to feel safe with, but now felt unsure and far away. It felt like the trust between them just broke a little more every day. And Charlotte couldn't stop her mind from running wild with all sorts of thoughts. She kept going over everything that happened with Nina, making it all seem worse in her head. No matter how much Valentine tried to calm her down, Charlotte just felt more unheard, unseen, and all by herself. The pressure building up inside her wasn't just about Nina. It was also about being scared of losing control, scared of losing her family, and scared of being the last one to know the truth again. It was like one fear just led to another, and before Charlotte knew it, she was totally overwhelmed. That's when she felt something click inside her. She didn't react with a big explosion or anything instant, but more like a quiet knowing. It was as though her mind just decided it couldn't sit around waiting for answers anymore. She suddenly felt a new kind of strength stirring inside her, a wild, dangerous feeling born straight out of pure desperation. When nobody listened to her concerns, she realized she had to deal with things herself. She was going to expose Nina on her own, defend Valentine by herself, and protect her broken world no matter what it took. This fresh resolve surged through her a lot, like a shot of adrenaline, but there was a dangerous edge to it. Things got pretty blurry for Charlotte when it came to telling the difference between what was real and what she was afraid of. Because of some big misunderstandings, she started trusting her gut feelings more and more, even though those feelings were totally warped. As time ticked by, she felt herself getting closer to doing something she couldn't undo. Something big that would make everyone finally understand what she already knew. It didn't really matter if she was right or wrong anymore. All that mattered was this really strong feeling that something awful was on its way, and she was the only one who could put a stop to it. Valentine felt things changing, though he couldn't quite put his finger on what it was. He noticed Charlotte's eyes getting really intense, and her shoulders stiffened, showing she was ready to stand her ground without saying a word. He tried to get through to her, but she was already backing away into her own story, creating her version of what happened, not from truth, but from fear. Nina had no clue about the brewing trouble, leaving her wide open for whatever Charlotte planned next. Things were getting really tense for all three of them, and Port Charles was about to get hit with some news that would shake up every single relationship tied to them. Charlotte was really mad, and everyone, especially Nina, was about to find out just how mad. So who's the father of Portia's baby? What started as a little personal worry has totally blown up, turning into a huge crisis that's now messing with everything in her life. What seemed like a personal issue before has now turned into something much bigger and scarier. It could really mess up her relationships, break apart all the trust she's built, and bring back a lot of old hurt she worked so hard to get past. Whether Curtis or Isaiah is the biological father, the truth's weight has started to mess everything up for her. Portia feels it the moment she walks into a room, every time someone stares a bit too long. Each time her phone vibrates with a message she's too scared to open. You know, in soap operas, things are rarely as simple as they seem. DNA tests, for example, are always getting messed with. Portia knows this. She had lived in Port Charles for so long that she knew science wasn't always straightforward. Papers could disappear, or worse, get swapped out. And if you had enemies, whether you knew who they were or not, they can mess with results and completely alter your life's direction. The more she thought about it, the more paranoid she got, like a weed taking over her thoughts. She starts wondering who would want to change the results and for what reason. Would someone really try to mess up her happiness, protect Curtis, protect Isaiah is a question. Punish her for old secrets. Is she just making up bad guys because the truth scares her more than any possible plot? The fear got bigger and bigger until it was like a steady beat right under her skin. Portia, usually so put together, so careful, is subtly but surely coming undone. She takes too much time looking at the test request forms. When it's late and quiet in her kitchen, with the lights dim, her mind starts imagining all the bad things that could happen. She looked at Curtis, trying to figure out if he felt some hope or if he was just holding on to resentment. She checks Isaiah's eyes too, trying to figure out if he picked up on what she was really thinking, even though she didn't say it. The not knowing started to break her, opening up a hole in her chest where panic just curled up and wouldn't go away. Okay, so Portia is really stuck. She's got these two guys, and either one could be her dad, which means she's caught in this big emotional mess with no clear way out. So one way forward puts her right back with Curtis. His love used to feel safe like home, even if it was a messy, painful kind of home. Having a child with Curtis might actually help things mend, giving them another shot to fix what went wrong. But deep down, a part of her is scared that if the truth implicates Curtis, it could stir up all kinds of old pain. It might just bring back arguments and bad feelings that never truly went away. Then you've got Isaiah. There's this guy, right? He's linked to her because of some stuff she's really tried to forget. He's also a part of another kind of unfinished business for her. If he's the father, everything's different. Things shift between them. Their whole future changes. We have to face their secrets. Portia worries that if she brings up this idea, it could really set off a fight between the two guys. And she's just not up to handling that right now. But the one thing that truly scared Portia was the idea that someone might mess with the DNA results. When that idea really sinks in, everything starts to feel a bit unreal. She keeps going over talks in her head. She can't help but wonder if some folks were just asking way too many questions. She can't help but wonder if the lab technician paused. She's got a feeling some unknown enemy is quietly getting everything ready for a big mess. In Port Charles, you just never know. Bad test results, especially those that have been tampered with, have torn families apart in the past. They changed everything for the better. They've really messed up moms. Portia's scared she could be next. She gets more and more anxious, and it begins to mess with how she deals with everyone. Her coworkers can tell she's more on edge than she normally is these days. Her family could feel the real weight hiding behind her smile. Going to the doctor, even for something minor, can feel really scary. It's like you're always bracing yourself for bad news with every beat of your heart. She tries to keep her feelings under wraps, but not knowing what's next really gets to her. It makes it hard to breathe, makes her feel jumpy, and sleep just isn't happening. The baby she's expecting should be all about joy, a real miracle, a blessing even yet. This whole pregnancy has turned into a tangled mess of secrets and shadows. As an observer, you can tell Portia is about to absolutely lose it, but she's completely unaware. With all the pressure mounting, she's making choices out of fear, not because she's thinking clearly. She's kind of holding back on telling what really happened. She has a tough time trusting people, even folks who could lend a hand. It's tough for her to really look at the fact that her whole world, which she worked so hard to build, might just fall apart, regardless of what the results show. That pause, that scary quiet, is what's really pushing her life to the edge. When those results finally come out, it's going to hit hard. If Curtis turns out to be the dad, it's going to bring up all those old hurts again. The shaky ground they're on could either get stronger or just totally crumble. If Isaiah turns out to be the father, things are really going to change for Portia. It will have a ripple effect on all her important relationships. If someone messes with the results, if the truth gets twisted, then Portia's going to find herself in a fight she never thought she'd have, trying to get back not just who her child is, but also her own peace of mind. However, the truth comes out, the emotional fallout is going to be immense. Portia is really going through it, like she's caught in this mess she just can't seem to get out of. There are things pulling her every which way, things she barely gets, and it's starting to feel like she's completely lost control. Then when everything finally comes out, her life and the lives of the men caught up in this mystery will be changed forever. Port Charles is about to find out who the baby's real dad is. But Portia, she's about to lose herself in the mess that truth will cause. Kirsten Storms is coming back as Maxie Jones on February 12th. And it's going to kick off a really intense part of her story. This happens just as Nathan starts looking for Lulu, which could totally mess up a lot of people's lives all at once. Maxie's slowly waking up in Boston, and she has no idea that the past she was so sad about is back in Port Charles. Meanwhile, Nathan is just incredibly set on something. It's almost like he's obsessed. You can really tell he's obsessed with finding Lulu, and it's kind of scary. He's not the same guy Maxie used to know. Instead, it seems like something much darker, colder, and maybe even something we can't quite grasp is driving him. Nathan is getting really close to Lulu, and it looks like he might actually flirt with her. That thought just makes everything a lot more intense. The charm he used to have, the kind that felt warm and real, now just feels sharp and uncomfortable. Almost like he's hunting something. Lulu might not notice right away, but Britt catches the change in a second, and it scares her. When Nathan suddenly showed up, Britt was so shocked her heart practically stopped. She really thought he was gone forever. She thought the past was finally gone for good. Seeing him there, all those old fears she tried so hard to bury came rushing back. It was like some deeply rooted instinct started to awaken inside her. Britt felt a real chill run right through her when she realized Nathan was actually going after Lulu. She, more than anyone, understands this is a really bad idea, not just for Lulu, but for Maxie, for the Cassadines, and for the delicate balance Port Charles is just barely keeping. Meanwhile, across the country, Maxie lies in a Boston hospital bed. slowly awakening to a world that has shifted beneath her feet. Felicia and Spinelli are right there, really struggling with a big choice that will change Maxie's future forever. They know Nathan is alive. They know he's out there making some pretty risky decisions, ones that could really mess with Maxie. Both in her head and maybe even physically. The doctors told them they had to be super careful because a sudden shock could mess up her getting better. How can they even begin to explain keeping the truth from her? What if not giving it out actually makes things worse? What if someone else spills the beans before I do? Or even worse, what if she bumps into Nathan without anyone getting her ready for the shock? Spinelli's got a tough choice. He's still got feelings for Maxie, but he also just wants to keep her safe. It's really putting the squeeze on him. Felicia, like any mom, felt the danger no matter what she did. If she told Maxie too early, her heart might break. But if she waited too long, the betrayal could hurt her even more. They're all just stuck, caught between two bad options, and everyone knows that no matter what they pick, there's going to be real trouble for each of them. Back in Port Charles, Britt sees what Nathan is doing and starts to feel really scared. He's not acting like the person she thought he was, not like the brother she trusted. Something's really wrong here, and the way he looks at Lulu just confirms it. Britt starts putting the pieces together, and it hits her that Nathan isn't just looking for Lulu because of old times or wishing things were different. He's got a game plan, and it feels pretty risky. And as soon as she gets that, she's just gripped by horror. If Maxie found out Nathan was alive, especially while he was after Lulu, she'd be absolutely heartbroken. But Maxie is slowly getting to a point where she'll have to make a big decision even if she doesn't realize it yet. While she's getting better in Boston, something inside her starts to change. She's finally ready to face what's next, to take back her own life and to make that big, life-changing decision she's always put off. Even though she had no idea what was waiting for her in Port Charles, she just felt this pull, this gut feeling that everything was about to change in a big way. That gut feeling is about to crash hard into reality. Nathan's back, he's after Lulu. And Spinelli is seriously spooked. Maxie's world is on edge, and everyone around them is holding their breath, each stuck in their own fears. Their own reasons for doing things, and their own sense of guilt. Nathan is just waiting to stir things up. Spinelli is stuck, caught between doing what's right and keeping someone safe. Britt is absolutely horrified by the direction Nathan has taken. Maxie, right there in the middle, without even realizing it, is about to go through a big change. It's the kind of change that's going to totally break apart that fragile feeling of safety everyone else is working so hard to hold on to. When she finally hears the truth, no matter who says it or how softly they try, everything's just going to shatter. Port Charles is really going to feel this one. Maxie's next move, driven by a mix of hurt, confusion, and a newfound resolve, is really going to make Nathan Spinelli, Britt, and Lulu confront what they've done. There's no getting out of it for any of them.